We had our conference on Rob McGee's front porch. Both of us were bundled up and chilly, but Mrs. McGee didn't allow smoking anywhere in her house. She was a woman ahead of her time. McGee talked a while. He did it like a man who doesn't in the least enjoy what he's hearing out of his own mouth. It proves nothing, you know that, don't you? He asked when he was pretty well done. His tone was belligerent, and he poked his home-rolled cigarette at me in an aggressive way as he spoke, but his face was sick. Not all proof is what you see and hear in a court of law, and we both knew it. I have an idea that was the only time in his life when Deputy McGee wished he was as country dumb as his boss. I know, I said. And if you're thinking of getting him a new trial on the basis of this one thing, you better think again, say or. John Coffey is a Negro, and in Trapingus County we're awful particular about giving new trials to Negroes. I know that, too. So what are you going to do? I pitched my cigarette over the porch rail and into the street. Then I stood up. It was going to be a long, cold ride back home, and the sooner I got going the sooner the trip would be done. That I wish I did know, Deputy McGee, I said, but I don't. The only thing I know tonight for a fact is that second piece of pie was a mistake. I'll tell you something, smart guy, he said, still speaking in that tone of hollow belligerence. I don't think you should have opened Pandora's box in the first place. It wasn't me opened it, I said, and then drove home. I got there late, after midnight, but my wife was waiting up for me. I'd suspected she would be, but it still did my heart good to see her, and to have her put her arms around my neck and her body nice and firm against mine. "Hello, stranger," she said, and then touched me down below. Nothing wrong with this fellow now, is there? He's just as healthy as can be. Yes, ma'am, I said, and lifted her up in my arms. I took her into the bedroom and we made love as sweet as sugar, and as I came to my climax, that delicious feeling of going out and letting go, I thought of John Coffey's endlessly weeping eyes. And of Melinda Moore's saying I dreamed you were wandering in the dark, and so was I. Still lying on top of my wife, with her arms around my neck and our thighs together, I began to weep myself. Paul, she said, shocked and afraid. I don't think she'd seen me in tears more than half a dozen times before in the entire course of our marriage. I have never been, in the ordinary course of things, a crying man. Paul, what is it? I know everything there is to know, I said through my tears. I know too goddamn much, if you want to know the truth. I'm supposed to electrocute John Coffey in less than a week's time, but it was William Wharton who killed the Dederick girls. It was Wild Bill. 5. The next day, the same bunch of screws who had eaten lunch in my kitchen after the botched Delacroix execution ate lunch there again. This time there was a fifth at our council of war, my wife. It was Jan who convinced me to tell the others. My first impulse had been not to. Wasn't it bad enough, I asked her, that we knew? You are not thinking clear about it, she'd answered. Probably because you're still upset. They already know the worst thing, that John's on the spot for a crime he didn't commit. If anything, this makes it a little better. I wasn't so sure, but I deferred to her judgment. I expected an uproar when I told Brutal, Dean, and Harry what I knew. I couldn't prove it, but I knew, all right, but at first there was only thoughtful silence. Then, taking another of Janice's biscuits and beginning to put an outrageous amount of butter on it, Dean said, "Did John see him, do you think? Did he see Wharton drop the girls, maybe even rape them?" "I think if he'd seen that, he would have tried to stop it," I said. As for seeing Wharton, maybe as he ran off, I suppose he might have. If he did, he forgot it later. Sure, Dean said. He's special, but that doesn't make him bright. He only found out it was Wharton when Wharton reached through the bars of his cell and touched him. Brutal was nodding. That's why John looked so surprised, so shocked. Remember the way his eyes opened?